I created the ghosts that will whisper in my head, why are you doing this? You're crazy. One set of voices that I created was, sort of the voices of my family. You big dummy, you just made it to Harvard Law School. All you have to do is not screw it up, and you're going to be a millionaire lawyer. The other set of ghosts I created is the ghosts of my peers, right? What would my peers say to me if I show up at the reunion, the mythical reunion where everybody gets judged, and my name tag says Rory Verrett, CEO of ridiculously dumb startup company that's failing.com.
You've probably heard those same committee members in your head giving you the same advice. That's what they sound like when you know you want something different, but every one of them is busy explaining why you should stay.
I just finally got up enough courage to stick a sock in the mouths of those ghosts and say, I have to do what makes me authentically engaged and happy and what I think I add the most value to the world. My voice had to be louder than theirs in my own head.
This is Planet Reinvention. You're not starting over, you're starting next. Hi, I'm Coach Pamela, and I am so thrilled to welcome you here. That man you just heard was Rory, one of my clients, sharing a piece of his reinvention journey. I've been coaching people through reinvention for more than 20 years, and this podcast is where I bring that work out of the coaching room and directly to you. Planet Reinvention is for professionals like you who succeeded at exactly the right thing until it wasn't anymore. You've reached the summit and realize you don't want to climb the next mountain. You want an entirely different mountain. Through lessons from the archives, clips from expert interviews, real-life reinvention stories, and practical coaching with tactical next steps, you'll chart a new path to a career and life that feel as good as they look. My guess is that you've heard some version of Rory's committee in your own head, voices you've listened to 1,000 times and challenged exactly never. And underneath those voices is often an inherited definition of success, someone else's idea of what your life is supposed to look like. Sometimes it's been there so long, you mistake it for your own. Let's go to the archives and listen to what that can sound like in real life. Hi there, Coach Pamela here. And this week we have an Ask Coach Pamela question from Frank, who writes, my father always told me that the best way to judge a man was by how much other people respected him. I loved to draw and dreamed of becoming an illustrator, but in the end, I decided to become a lawyer because I knew if I put in the work, I could climb to the top of that field. Now I'm 46, well respected in my expertise and earning a good living. My dad, who passed away many years ago, would be proud of the man I've become, but inside I feel empty. I need help figuring out if I can do what matters to me without losing the profile I've built. Oh, Frank, parents. When we need to make a decision, it can seem like they're weighing in with an opinion whether or not they're even still with us. It sounds like you've built your life to satisfy your father's definition of respect, which led you to become what we call here at Planet Reinvention a high-powered hider. That's when everything looks great from the outside. People say, everything's great in your life. You should be happy. But inside, you know it's not the right fit. In the past, Frank, you gave up your dream to fulfill your father's definition of respect. Now it's time, though, to fulfill your own. Frank built his career around his father's definition of respect. My story was different, But the trap was just as powerful. Wall Street wasn't somebody else's dream for me. It was mine. I was convinced it would deliver the life I wanted. And that made what happened after I got there much harder to admit. The idea struck like lightning on an appropriately rainy day in 1983. I was sitting in a cramped college lecture hall, listening to a professor talk about Latin American politics, when I began to see a path unfurl before me. At the end of it was my dream career. I want to travel the world and have someone else pay for it. At 18, that seemed like a perfectly reasonable request. I set my sights on international banking with Citibank. Why Citibank? Because their glossy recruiting brochures showed polished, multicultural men and women in suits, standing in glamorous foreign locales. They were smiling. They looked prosperous. It looked like fun. So, with breathtaking singleness of purpose, I worked my way from Harvard to an MBA at the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and then to Knight Ridder Financial, a company that sold financial information to brokers and traders. Citibank was one of their clients, and Knight Ridder's offices were at 75 Wall Street. I thought that was the perfect start. The first day I went into the office, I was walking on air. All those years of study and strategy had paid off, and I'd made it to Wall Street, literally. I was in that magical moment we all long for, where I'd achieved my goal and my dream was finally real. I was joyous and ready to take the world by storm. And within 1 year of living my dream career, I realized that I hated it. What had seemed so great in fantasy turned out to be a bad fit in reality. I wasn't passionate about finance. I prioritized people over dollars, which was directly at odds with the prevailing Wall Street culture. My heart told me to leave, but all those years I had invested in getting there told me to stay. You know that feeling, right? Plus, I had a great boss who threw more money and responsibility my way every time I made noises about being unhappy. That was the first time I realized that you could be really talented at a job and absolutely hate it. I thought money could paper over my misery. But the truth is, there's not enough money in the world to soothe an unhappy soul. Before I quite knew what had happened, 1 year had turned into nearly 5, and years before I coined the phrase, I had become a high-powered hider myself. My career looked successful from the outside, but my body was telling the truth I didn't want to admit. Every morning when I got off the train, the anxiety would start in my stomach and climb higher and higher. By the time I walked through the gleaming gold revolving doors of the office, the stress had lodged in my throat and I could barely breathe. This was my life. And then one night, I was entertaining clients at Delmonico's. If Wall Street was the center of the universe, Delmonico's was the center of the center. One of those posh, mahogany-paneled downtown restaurants where Wall Streeters gathered after a satisfying day of multi-million-dollar death matches. The banquettes were lined in red leather, and the room had that familiar Wall Streety smell of expensive scotch and illegal Cuban cigars. I looked around at the starched white shirts of my male colleagues. There were few women on Wall Street then. Each shirt bracketed by what Wall Street calls braces and the rest of us call suspenders. They droned on about T-bills and basis points and bragged about how much money they had made that day. Their white shirts were blinding me. The cigar smoke was choking me. And the conversation was boring me, especially since I don't drink scotch or any other alcohol. There was nothing to numb how miserable I felt. I'd had enough of market movements and multi-million dollar death matches. I wanted to talk about something else for a change. By then, the politics at the office had gotten poisonous, and my wonderful boss had left. But I had been in such pain and denial for so long that I'd never taken the time or space to figure out what I wanted next. I had dreamed of and worked toward that career for years. I had built my entire life plan around it. I quit anyway. Walking out like that without a plan B is really a drastic move and one I don't normally recommend. There are healthier, safer ways to make a transition. But I didn't know that then. That's the point. At the time, there was no roadmap, no coach, and no community to help me figure out what I wanted next or show me how to get there. Eventually, I did figure it out. I targeted and landed a great job in the entertainment industry. For the next 9 years, I traveled the world negotiating deals, and this time I loved it. By 2003, my priorities had shifted again. I was done with the planes, trains, and automobiles lifestyle, and I knew what I wanted to build, the company I'd needed when I left Wall Street. I became a credentialed coach and founded the Reinvention Institute to give you what I wish I'd had, a proven methodology for reinvention, along with the courses, coaching, and community to help you put it into practice. What I learned, first on my own journey, and then while helping thousands of others through theirs, is that reinvention isn't a leap into the abyss. It's a practical life skill you can learn and use whether you're choosing change or change has chosen you. On Planet Reinvention, we'll talk about both. What sets them in motion may be different, but the skills you need are the same. Today, we're starting with the moment when your life looks good on the outside, but inside, you know it's no longer what you want. Okay, let's get practical. Most of the time, you don't say it that cleanly. It sounds more like, why am I doing this? Or, how did I get here? Or, my personal favorite, I'm here, but do I still want to be here? It's true, you can still do the job and do it exceptionally well. That's part of what makes this so tough. The work that once energized you now feels flat. The opportunities everyone assumes you want start looking like more of the same. You still want to succeed. You're just not sure you want more of this version of success. It's a paradox. There's a lot you love about your life. The people, the security, the parts of the work that do still fit. But together, they may no longer add up to the life you want. Here's my take. That dissatisfaction is not proof you've made a mistake. It's data. You're ambitious about something different now. You just may not have language for it yet. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what is this telling me about what I want now? For Rory, the clue was hiding in how he got there in the first place.
Wow, I'm kind of an odd bird here. I didn't do what these people did to get me here. And it was that realization that kind of was the eureka moment for me, that I had to take a non-traditional path because my path had been authentic and original from the beginning.
Once he chose a path that fit who he actually was, here's what changed.
I am much more efficient in my life because I'm not wearing a costume and a mask. I don't have to be my authentic self at home and someone else at work. I am the same person. So I've gained a whole lot of productivity. The second thing I've gained is I'm getting better at the craft of leading and being creative because I'm doing more of it. The third thing I would say that I gain is I think my relationships, personal and professional, are just richer because I'm actually being myself. I'm giving people my authentic self.
That is the payoff. Reinvention isn't about blowing up a good life. It's about building a career and life that feel as good as they look. All right, time for me to do for you what I do at the end of every client session, give you a coaching request. And let me be clear with you, like I am with them. It's not homework. You're an adult. You don't get an F. That said, you and I both know action is where this starts, and it's what delivers results. So here's your request. Tonight, take 5 minutes and make 2 lists. List 1, write down what in your life still fits. List 2, write down what stopped fitting in your life. That's it. You're not fixing anything tonight. You're simply taking inventory and gathering data. If the thought of making those lists stresses you out, remember, you've run harder audits than this before breakfast. And if list 2 comes out longer than you expected, say this after every single item on it. That's been true up until now. That separates what has been true from what has to keep being true. Being able to make that distinction is a critical reinvention skill. You don't need to write any of this down. I got you. The 2 lists and the exact wording are all in the show notes. Next time, we're taking on the voice that shows up when you read list 2, the one that says, "You have so much. What more do you want?" Bring your lists and let's do the work. Planet Reinvention is brought to you by the Reinvention Institute, where possibility becomes a plan and progress becomes inevitable. I'm Coach Pamela, and remember, you're not starting over, you're starting next.